Good evening, everyone. The first topic, decriminalization of section 3.3, means IPC 377. I don't think that you do not know anything. It's very old issue. In fact, some topics are old and you already know, you have studied because topic is coming since 2009. Right. So it's not that you do not know it. And by teaching, we do not want to make a difference you do not know it. Rather, what we will like that when you write answer on that question, then you write your best. And there is a difference. Already we have given that, let's say that we gave that question, that question we gave in past test about 377. And we did not get a good response, means good answer on that. In fact, some people or most people did not understand the question. Although generally question, I accept that the question was a bit difficult also. It was framed in such a fashion. Right. That was examine the role of judiciary and executive, right, in promotion of social justice. Especially on section, it is not exactly that way, I do not remember the question in literal, means in exact term, but that is how it was framed. Examine the role of executive and judiciary in ensuring social justice to LGBT community section, right, related to, let's say, section 377. Right, that was the question. Suppose I begin with this before beginning. And suppose it is given to you. So what people did? People wrote about 377, people wrote the Supreme Court judgment, and then people wrote that what government should do. This is how it is. The question is not on that. Question is that why, let's say that judiciary and executive have delayed social justice to that community on that law since 2009. And it is both failure of judiciary, it is also failure of executive to be proactive and give justice to them. Means you will incorporate in your answer that perspective. Because journey started in 2009. And then it is judicial inconsistency. If there had been judicial consistencies, in 2013-14 itself they could have given. They may not have rejected the High Court judgment. But first they reject the High Court judgment. Then they in 2017 go on something lofty level of right to privacy, where they are considering even the LGBT rights. And that opens the gate, and this is how, let's say, in 2018, after 1 year, almost 1 year, let's say that, they gave the judgment. Right. And second important aspect was that the government here says that it is up to judiciary. It is left to judiciary to decide. Right. This is a case where it questions, means when judiciary restrains, so you say no, you decide, it is up to you. And when it decides, so you say it is judicial overreach. Right. So both way you want to have, let's say that things in your hand. This is how it is. So that was, let's say that we can use very academic way, non-challenge approach, indifferent approach by executive to deal that matter. And do not become proactive. For instance, let's say that Supreme Court has given another judgment. 3 days back on Election Commission, there was debate in the Hindu. And debate was that whether Supreme Court could have gone ahead and formulated, given power to Election Commission. In that judgment, Supreme Court says that lawmaking is the domain of legislature and therefore it is left to legislature to decide. These are all inconsistencies which will keep showing to you this is how the views and values and perspective you develop. Right. It questions also judicial standards. Judicial standards means legal education. I'm going a bit too far. This is how we at times go. So, legal education is not such that judges should pronounce less inconsistent judgment. How can you change it? But that's not. If you see the history, 2001, it began with 2001. The first time petition was filed in 2001 in same Delhi High Court. And it goes, that time High Court rejected, it goes to Supreme Court. Supreme Court that time says that High Court should reconsider it. And when High Court reconsidered in 2009, it gives the judgment, then it goes to Supreme Court and it rejects. Right. But since we don't have that kind of system to analyze the behavior of judiciary, right, that's why let's say that suppose you come now, so you will get a view on judiciary now. You do not know the past, and if it is past, hardly it matters. So, we ask the question, keeping these things in mind. Right. The question was not asked to merely write 377 and role of judiciary, which is already very clear, role of executive. And the answer should have reflected such, let's say that, inherent inconsistency. At least it should have reflected when you write it. So, that will make a difference. Even a simple question is given, suppose that nowadays they are asking, last year they have given a different pattern of question. Right. Whether judicial efforts will be adequate enough. This is how. So they have used whether, and 2-3 questions are like that. Right. वैसे भी दिल्ली का weather कोई ठीक नहीं है. So the question is that that kind of question, so simple question can be formulated. Already in the Hindu there is a debate. Judicial efforts alone are not adequate enough. Judiciary alone may not be able to deepen the spirit of democracy unless it is backed with, let's say, other such factors, especially the first 2 organs, right, if they take efforts. But suppose we ask simple question that is called comment on the Supreme Court decriminalization of IPC 377. That to what extent it is going to, or whether it is going to end social injustice to LGBT community. That is the question, simply. Although I will not tell you to write, right, but still what you write, that differs. You can go and write and test. You can ask to your friends also how better you have written. Anyhow, so we basically want, the crux is that you should end up writing good answers, you should benefit. The crux is not that give you knowledge and give you information, etc. Certainly we try to bring different types of information and, let's say, facts, new facts, etc. We try to be as innovative as possible, which may benefit. Second thing is that when we started ED class, that time it used to be in the class itself, every Sunday, let's say, I gave at least 3 questions to be written. In the class itself, I used to, let's say, also evaluate the way I do in case study. But that I left over a period of time. But now this year we have started, rather you will have to consume more time, give more time. So we have started this year, let's say, every Friday writing practice. So those who have certain, let's say, that quest or क्या बोलते हैं, inquisitiveness to write more and more answers, right? So they can come on Friday. That is part of our this course this year program. So on Friday, since you have to write questions, you are writing also everyday questions, etc. Since we give you also a list of questions, and since we discuss also, the why not there can be also opportunity for you to practice at least once in a day. And it should be told that how better you are writing, how worse you are writing. So every Friday, this is how we will have the writing practice, and you should write it. Then another thing, although we have told it, but generally people, since It is our experience also that in that class generally there is no response, but we also want to have a bit PT oriented one separate class time to time. Although we have written every 15 days, but this is how, let's say that it can be 15 days, 20 days, whatever. Since PT is also important. So we want to this time also focus a bit more innovatively on PT section, especially on current contemporary developments related to ED class et sectors, which can benefit side by side. This is what we'll be saying, and the next is that generally in ED class, let's say if we give 10 topics, 10, 12 topics, it is not possible to discuss all topics in equal length. Right, that is not also our motive. At least some topics we should discuss in details. Every time we will discuss some topics in details. So at least some topics you will know in details. In that way you will, by the end you know many such topics in details. But some topics are not needed in details, let's say that those topics you should simply know just for information. And you should have certain view et cetera. Suppose there is a report. The report we don't, yes, unless it is a report by World Bank or some other such good institutions which are relevant and questions have been asked from those reports. So other reports time to time which come, so generally we may not focus much details on that, just to give you only information on that. We also try to give, let's say that, best practices. Today, let's say we have Kudumbushri as the best practice, but already people know it. It's not that people do not know it. But let's say there can be some innovative information, some more information in that. So all topics may not demand to give, let's say that, equal focus. That's why, let's say that you should not have, generally we tell it, but since people start calculating if one topic is discussed in 1.5 hours, 1 hour, so let's say that 8 topics will be discussed in 8 hours. Right. That is how it is. Anyhow. So let's take this first topic. Let's begin from this. Now, since it ends, right, since they have not asked this year this question, right, it can be one expected question or contemporary development which has not been asked, which can be asked not only in 19 also, any time thereafter. Right. So this is first. Second, the orientation of the question will be largely focused towards that whether it will bring justice to that community. Means now it will be more on implementation side. So far the debate was whether they should get such right. So far the debate was whether we should decriminalize, since it was not decriminalized. So a view was that pros and cons of decriminalization. But now once it has been decriminalized and government also largely, if it did not, let's say that reject, so somehow it agrees. When it says it is left to judiciary. So if government has also agreed, although let's say not in a very explicit sense, so now the, let's say, inclination of the question when it is asked, it will be largely on implementation side. Once we give, let's say, legal right, so does it result into realization of the objectives? Right. Or what are the challenges in ensuring justice, equality, right, liberty, whatever you can say, to them? Or they can ask what are the still legal challenges? So what are the legal challenges, policy hurdles, right, in achieving social justice? So largely in that way it can be. If we go, since already I don't have motivation to tell in those details for this, but if we go in a bit of chronology, so it begins from 1800, right, 61. In some places they say 1866, but facts do not matter. Right, we can say 1860s, 1850s, that is also. Means it started during British time. If you that right also, that is all colonial law, that way also it is. So it started from that time that it was it was criminalized, and since then, let's say that it has remained part of the our legal system, right? Which has resulted into that community, especially LGBT community, facing lots of challenges, right? Which you can say social, political, economic, legal, psychological, the way you can classify. Social is that social state, right? Social ostracization, stigma, right? This they will get. Psychological is that this is how, let's say that inferiority complex they will have, lack of, let's say that belongingness, association in society. Economic is that their economic rights will also be not recognized, especially as a citizen when you are not recognized, as a gender when you are not recognized, right? So your economic rights will also be suffering. Political aspect will also suffer because again the same thing, social boycott, economic boycott, or psychological aspect. And law will be enforced against them. Law was enforced, although it can be very less, marginal number of such cases. But again, let's say that law will not recognize. It is legal, political, social, economic, whatever you can say that in our society. Just we can imagine that how those people, there are many such movies also you can see how such people, so their privacy right was not recognized. If we talk only about gay rights, so their privacy rights were not recognized, right to privacy, right? Their right to sexual orientation is not recognized, right? So in a way, as a human being, they did not live their life to their fullest potential, with dignity and respect. This is how you can say in brief. Right. Now, since already you know the legal journey, how it starts 2001 to finally, let's say that 2018. But in this juncture, the most important judgment was right to privacy judgment. That is how you should highlight when you write it. Last year, when there was right to privacy judgment, 9 judge bench judgment, that went on also talking about the rights of LGBT community. And therefore, let's say the most important basis for the present judgment goes to recognition of right to privacy as intrinsic right of human. Because the sexual orientation of a person is a privacy right. So, last year recognition. I know that people will not touch upon that aspect, rather they will write 2009, 13, 14, then they will come to this judgment, or one more 2015. But you should know that unless privacy right is recognized, and that is also intrinsic privacy right, intrinsic is something inalienable, intrinsic is not something implicit. You should know this. Fundamental rights, we have 2-3 types, it means. Only Supreme Court judges can clarify more when they use such type of terminologies. But we can also apply some of our human intellect. So they say explicit fundamental right, they say implicit fundamental right. And in this case, they went on saying intrinsic fundamental right. The term which was used. So that is how you can take, means when we write it, so that should be made the basis. And that is how, let's say, the legal journey, and finally, legally, let's say that it has been decriminalized. Means those people, right, means heterogeneous sex is no doubt recognized, but homogeneous sex is also now legalized. Right. Means in sexual orientation, sex will not be a binary operation, binary aspect, whether you are a male or female. This is how the judgment, right, indicates. Now, this is the question that, will it address the 3-4 problems? Right. They get legal rights and it is decriminalized. The first thing is that will they get dignity and respect? This. Second, will they take liberty and equality? Will they have liberty and equality? And the last will tell you that will they get rights like general citizen? Will they live life like general citizen? Right. The first two rights will depend on society, governance. The first two rights will depend on society and governance. Because women have also enjoyed equal right, isn't it? And different other vulnerable sections also have equal rights, but they do not enjoy equal rights. You have lots of discrimination, so this is general application. So the way other vulnerable sections of the society do not enjoy still those dignity, respect, equal rights, even if legally Constitution of India declares them, same thing can happen with them. In fact, more will happen. And the next is whether they will they will live their life as citizens. So you have to address many other issues. Many other issues. Now you have to go to another judgment, transgender judgment. The transgender was declared as third gender. Right. But thereafter you have not made a law to give them those, let's say, social rights, right, given in the constitution to other people. Although a right to privacy bill was introduced, right to private members bill was introduced, and you know that it was introduced by private member and government promised to bring a law, but still it has promised. This, why it is? When you recognize gay rights, you will also recognize gay marriage. You have to recognize marriage also. And when you have to recognize marriage, you have to also recognize procreation, technologically. Right. So when you recognize them, right, so when you recognize gay rights, their sexual rights, so you have to recognize other such, let's say that process of that right. Right, marriage, then children, right, then adoption law, because certainly let's say that their procreation will be different. Right. So how you will decide it? Still that's why we told legal challenge. The legal challenges are still left. Right. Legal challenges are left. So this is how, let's say that government now ultimately depends on executive and legislature to address those legal complexity and legal challenges. If you take child adoption and let's say surrogacy law, how surrogacy is also related with that. Right. If you take surrogacy law, then they brought surrogacy ki only fertile couple should have. Right. To fertile hoga to surrogacy kya zarurat hai? Sorry to say that. Right. So if you take those law, let's say that surrogacy law, adoption law, right, this marriage act, so you have Hindu marriage act, in which category they will come? Muslim marriage act, Hindu marriage act, blend of both, none. Right. These all issues will be addressed. Right. So because they don't, their national, right, their religiosity. So what will be their religiosity? Which religion they will identify themselves? Right. The way you have reservation policy, in reservation only husband side is recognized, not wife side, is it? Or wife side is also recognized. Right. That whether if a person is, let's say, backward, the husband is backward, wife is forward, so the child is born, so whether the child will get reservation right or not, he will not get. Right. But for that there was a judgment. You had to go to this Supreme Court, then a law was amended. That way you will have to amend many such laws. Not one law. All the civil laws which deal with marriage, property rights, adoption, surrogacy, we will have to bring in sync with their rights. Right. Because a new gender has born, a new type of marriage institution has emerged. Right. And similarly also, they will face problems at workplaces. Right. They will face challenges at workplaces, human rights, etc. Right. So you can imagine. Right. And if you will deal case by case, generally which happens in our country, so then you should not worry much. Case by case will deal. Right. So there will be lack of proactiveness. If government will deal case by case, so there will be lack of proactiveness, and that is not a good approach. It means, let me say that, the most important challenge is social and legal for realization of their social rights, their realization of their constitutional rights. Social is that the society will take time to accept it, isn't it? Society will take lots of time to accept it in our country. Right. And second is called legal challenge, that we are saying. Because our attitude, behavior is very patriarchal. Right. We are very primordial type people. Right. We may have liberal thinking, but only in copy and answers. Right. So we may have liberal thinking. In our day-to-day behavior, we are very traditional, conservative. This is how. So even if law has recognized, but they may face challenges, right? Even they may face social tension and conflict in their day-to-day life. Therefore, it is the government role, basically, to promote, let's say that, LGBT community-friendly environment, right, through their policy programs, awareness. And in that, civil society should play active role. The civil society should also come forward. Government should promote proactive role, right, the way it promotes in other such sectors. Right. That is how we can deal. But government should necessarily bring laws to address legal inconsistencies, legal hurdles. Otherwise, even if Supreme Court has given judgment, but except their sexual orientation or sexual rights, they may not enjoy other such social, economic and political rights. That is what we can say in brief. So, this is how you should see. Further you can take in details, isn't it? If you have any questions, you can ask.
So what do you mean by constitutional morality? How we can define it?
अच्छा, ये भी लिखा हुआ है क्या? Right. Nowadays, there is the term being used called constitutional morality. That's why deliberately it is used in this article. And in the Hindu also, one article has been published on constitutional morality. And since it is a term, so the benefit is that you can use, incorporate in your writing practice, or you can expect a question as well, linking that. Especially related to basic structure doctrine. Basic structure doctrine is also based on constitutional morality. First, Ambedkar, when constitution was being framed, there was also, let's say that, debate on constitutional morality. So, constitutional morality is like this. Right. Constitutional morality will give the shape, structure to constitution, and it will also help in its working. How a constitution works. Right. This constitutional morality is for those who govern. Right. So those who govern can govern any constitution, right, better if they have constitutional morality. And now the question is, what is constitutional morality? A morality to exercise power as per rule of law. The morality within you, right, the quest within you, the spirit within you, right, or the motive within you, those who govern. So those who govern, they should have the motive to exercise their power as per the letter and spirit of the constitution. Right. They should have themselves, they should not seek whether what constitution says. Right. Only if those who govern have the constitutional morality, then there can be constitutionalism. Right. Are you able to understand? कुछ नहीं समझ में आया. कैसे आएगा? The question is, do you think that governance depends on a written constitution, what is written, or governance depends on the people, those who are governing? Those who are governing. Both. Which one is more important? Right. Those who are governing, right, is more important. तो अगर आप 2014 में जाओगे जब इलेक्शन नहीं हुआ था, उसके पहले का जितना मीडिया में डिबेट हुआ था, वो सारा यही डिबेट था कि देयर इज अ थ्रेट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो सेम है. व्हाई देयर इज अ थ्रेट टू कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन? राइट. Many things were written. Right. Comparison was made with also Hitler and what you can say, Ronald Reagan on good side. Right. So you know what we are trying to say. So it is not the constitution per se. It is the people, those who govern. Right. Their morality ensures constitutional governance. And that is how we say it, constitutional morality. Right. Still not clear. Right. Why you have doubt, right, that government says something else and does something else? Not this government, any government. Right. They promise something else and they do something else. Right. Why it happens? Because their intention. It is because of their intention. Let me make it very clear. There is a law. Right? When you enforce any law, that law you can enforce with arbitrariness also. Right. And with, let's say that, absence of arbitrariness. Right. For instance, repromulgation of ordinances. So repromulgation of ordinance is what? And Bihar has a record of repromulgation of ordinance. Right. Is it, what is this? The constitution gives you power. The constitution gives you power to promulgate and repromulgate. So you can say you have the legal power, legal right, it cannot be questioned. But should you go on repromulgating again and again? Why, let's say in national level also, at national level it was 4 times repromulgated, I guess, or 5 times. One law is repromulgated 4 times and there is a legislature. and you have the single majority party. Right. When there is a single majority party and that party goes for repromulgation, then when you expect the legislature to function? Right. So you can blame on anything, that's different thing, means the Rajya Sabha etc. But when this is what, let's say that ki respect, there is a lack of respect to rule of law. Right. There is a lack of respect to the constitution in letter and spirit. And when you will repromulgate so arbitrarily, it will not be constitutionalism. Right. The constitutional morality is the morality about the people, those who govern the constitution, those who implement the constitution. After all, let's say that why Supreme Court has struck many things. Why? It is not written in law. You are saying law is important, but nothing is written. Whatever they have done innovative, not written in constitution. And can we say that those things have preserved constitution? Can we say? Right. Even let's say intrinsic fundamental right, privacy, third gender as recognition, or this decriminalization, or let's say even Aadhaar judgment. So why they are, let's say that not allowing any such arbitrary law to be implemented? Why legislature, executive are implementing? Constitutional morality. Their morality is that not to compromise with the values of the constitution, the ideals of the constitution, no matter what may happen. Right. If it has a legal consequence, let it be the legal consequence. If Aadhaar is struck, it will have lots of legal consequence. Let it be. Right. But we should not compromise to certain ideals, certain standards. Right. This is how. So that is called morality, constitutional morality, and that protects the constitution. So, when there is a constitutional morality, those who govern, you may not need constitution also. UK. Yes. Commitment to constitutional values. This you can say. Those who govern. Those who govern, those who are in power. Yes, you can say in that way also. It is commitment to the values of constitution, yes.
So how is it different from societal morality?
Yes. Because societal morality is not legal, it is social. It is civic. But constitutional morality is legal. It may incorporate social as well. That is the difference.
We are a victim against social morality and it was for
No. He was not against social morality. See, you cannot separate it. Legal morality will have also social morality. In fact, legal morality is essential for promotion of social morality. When he says one man, one value, means let's make gender neutral, one person, one value. Right. So he was promoting diversity also. DPS speech. That's why in the DPS speech context he says that there should be one person, one value. So you should have diversity also. So he is not against social morality.
but given preference to constitutional morality over societal morality.
Yes, constitutional morality certainly should be given preference over social morality. Right, because it is the fundamental law of the land. Right.
Society makes that law.
Accepted. But law has a broader connotation. It is for entire society. Social morality may differ. Let's say Sabrimala incident happens. So only that sections, let's say that ki somehow rights, values are affected and they are protesting. It has nothing to do with other sections of the society. Right. Although it is for equal right. When Jallikattu issue happens, it affects to the certain cultural rights of some section of society. But law has a broad connotation, it is for entire territory. Right, that way you can say it.
What if we able to
Yes,
All preambular provision principles are
yes, yes, accepted.
Is it restricted to only the executive and those who govern? Is it not for the citizens and the judiciary?
देखो, you cannot clap with one hand, right? So we have fundamental duties also, right? But it is first applicable to those who govern. But since those who govern, they come from society, so you cannot say, those who are governed, they are not responsible. But it is applicable to those who govern because they implement law, they enforce law, they govern the society. Legislature will determine the nature of law. Although certainly there is a societal views. Society has its own views. But ultimately law is determined by legislature. It is for those who govern. Yes.
Regarding a committee commission for this committee, this is for Honorable Minister Commission for Honor and
Yes. You want one more commission? Yes. अच्छा है एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए. So the question is, right. देखो ऑलरेडी वो क्वेश्चन आ चुका है, हमने बताया भी होगा. आई विल नॉट मेंशन, मीन्स आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड इन पास्ट क्लासेज, राइट. जो एक क्वेश्चन आया है इस बार पॉलिटी में, आउट ऑफ बॉक्स क्वेश्चन, तो वी हैव टोल्ड दैट institutional jungle, right. And once a question now has been asked, so you should not have often this reference, one more commission should be created, right. Let's align with National Commission for Women, or let's align with any other commission, not a separate commission. Right. I told this is how legal, you have to address all those issues. Right. Whether there should be representation, so you should have a separate reservation in 73rd Amendment Act, 74th Amendment Act, in legislature, in assembly, etc. So you have to deal all set of things. So it can be written, there is no problem. It is good thing you can relate it. You have to enhance and promote their rights. Right. But as far as separate commission, it should not be. Right. This is how I will be saying. But because you should know that. I told like this, if you remember. As of now, if specifically in social sector, you had OBC, you have created one commission. Already it was a commission, you have expanded its power. And you made it similar to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. इसको भी पूछ लिया इन्होंने और ये वाला स्टेज भी पूछ लिया इन्होंने. Two questions they ask. Second stage will be that this is stage first. Second stage is to merge all the three. Why to have separate scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBC? Minority commission bhi hai. Right. Why to have? If you go in details, although this is not a topic, I will tell in short. If you go in details, in one state a caste is OBC, in another state it may be scheduled caste. Right. So you have inconsistency. Right. And a caste can be minority also. So you have a separate minority commission. So why you need to have all these separate commissions? Why don't you merge, create one? Right. Still, if you create, means merge, create one, still you will have many other commissions. Right. You have Child Right Commission, you have Women Commission, you have Human Right Commission, right. And you have other less known commissions. Basically what they are doing. Right. Or let's take any one issue. X issue. Right. X issue may be related to child right also, National Human Rights Commission also, Women Commission also, Scheduled Caste also. Right. This happens. That's why there is a talk for Equal Opportunity Commission. Right. Which is followed in other countries. Right. Human rights, let's say that. Human rights can be one, but basically it is about justice. Human rights main role is what? Promotion of justice. Why you cannot have a justice commission? Simple. Right. It may not be equal opportunity. Promoting equal opportunity is also justice. That is how the second question they have asked, whether the Human Rights Commission, women, etc. can be merged and created one. Because it creates administrative bottleneck. First, you will have one national women commission, you will go to have all states women commission, none of them, let's say, is functional. And Human Rights Commission, you have national, and then you will have, and we are celebrating now 25 years of NHRC. We will bring that topic also. So, this is called institutional jungle. Right. You need to create one institution with effective administrative capacity so that it can deal with all such issues. Further, we will deal somewhere else when the issue will come. So, we will not support.
But my point is, whether if a specific commission is not working efficiently, then how merge or amalgamate?
Good point. If they are not working, does it mean we should go on creating one more? That logic is also not acceptable.
If one commission is focused on one task, then it will become more effective.
Yes. Good. Since then it will happen, let's say you have as many committee institutions, as many institution organization, as many people, as number of categories of people.
Or a section, or a particular section.
No. After a level, don't you think that there will be a level playing? Why there should be so much difference between scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBC when you have been promoting scheduled caste, scheduled tribe reservation and their rights for 70 years? Have they not improved? So, हाथ में स्मार्टफोन लेके चल रहे हैं और अभी भी बात करते हैं कि नहीं हमारा 500 years का जो ओल्ड राइट है वो हमारा प्रोटेक्टेड होना चाहिए. Sorry to say that. So, the question is that you want to live all modern, ultra modern life. But when that right comes, you want to know, you will still be belonging to that 500 years old era. Right. That is not correct. Politically it can be correct. Right. But certainly in 70 years you have improved. So when you have improved, you have got education, you have got advanced education, you are living in the mainstream society. So why still your rights should be guided by a particular law which was based in the very past years? That's why Supreme Court has asked also scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, creamy layers. Right. And the way they will ask, there will be protest. But let's limit ourselves. Come to next point. So, we will not support, by the way, good question that whether you should have a separate committee to promote their rights. But the question is that it will result into one more. When we are talking to go for minimizing, government has the philosophy of also minimum government. So I want to make it maximum government. Their rights can be promoted if government takes necessary legal steps, legal initiatives, interventions, necessary policy interventions, and there is a ministry, suppose it deals with that specific subject matter. So that can be dealt effectively. Right. Merely creation of a separate commission is not a necessity. And it will not address the issue. This will say that. So we'll see, yes, your question also.
Could you just explain what exactly meant by constitutional ethics? I got clarity with the constitutional morality, but after that I have some confusion.
Yes. Why to make ethics class? Right. देखो, constitutional ethics is entirely different from constitutional morality. Now, constitutional ethics will talk about ethics of constitution. Right. That which part should be kept in the constitution, which part is considered best, better, suiting to the situation, etc. So, constitutional ethics is about the framing of the constitution, its standards, provisions. It will deal with those aspects. But constitutional morality is about the ideals of the constitution, a moral commitment to ensure that there is a constitutional governance. It is more applied aspect, and constitutional ethics is a more theoretical aspect behind the constitution. Yes?